with something new called Hustlers Profiles. I've got Nick Nimmin, who lives in Thailand. I had the great pleasure of breaking Korean barbecue with Nick, and we talked about a lot of stuff. And if you ever go to a conference or something, it's best to go a little earlier because you can have some great side conversations. Nick's going to talk about living in Thailand, making money in Thailand, and we'll talk about some YouTube tips on how to grow your channel. So the first thing that we're going to start off with Nick is living in Thailand. And we're going to get his origin story, like how did he get started? Who is Nick Nimmin? And all of that good stuff. So Nick, introduce yourself to the folks and how did you get started? What was your motivation?
First, I want to say what is going on. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I appreciate it. My name is Nick Nimmin. Like you said, I help people grow YouTube channels, make videos, and all types of other YouTube related stuff. And I am in Thailand, which is a pretty cool thing. So what got me actually started here in Thailand is I went out to Thailand, or came to Thailand to visit my brother who was already living here. I got out of a relationship. And I'll say got out of because, let's be honest, right? I got out of a relationship, and that relationship was something that I expected to be something that was, it was a big deal to me. So I had to, I was having a little bit of trouble with it mentally. And my brother was like, hey, man, if you can spare a month, come over here, hang out. I'm going to show you around the country. And I think that it might just change the way that you view things and things like that. And I'm like, okay. And he literally, this is how awesome my brother is. He literally gave me like an all expense paid trip to Thailand just to help me clear my mind and help me, experience what's going on over here. So I said, okay, totally on board, made the time, and came over here for that month, fell in love with the place. I thought it was absolutely amazing. The lifestyle, the pacing, the people, just every aspect of it. And I was having a conversation with him. I was like, man, I would love to stay here. I would love to come back and actually like live here like you do. And he said, well, if you want to do that, I can help you, and I can basically show you the ropes in terms of trying to get customers online and things like that. Because I knew how to do graphic design at the time. I had a door-to-door marketing company that I was doing at that time, and a commercial janitorial service that I was doing at that time. And working online, which is not a reality for those types of businesses. So with those, I also had graphic design experience, and because of that graphic design experience that I had, that particular skill set, that's what we leaned on in terms of a way to actually get me over here to where I could live here full time. And I'll be honest, man, when I first came over, I was doing the bootstrap thing like a lot of people do. I was doing the thing to where, I come over, I was paying like $150. Actually, when I first came over, I actually slept on my brother's floor for a while. Like I like a little camping mat, and a blanket, just to go ahead and make sure that this was going to be something that I was going to be into for a long period of time and not just a vacation. So I think that was probably about a month and a half, maybe longer. And then after that, I got an apartment that was around like 5,000 baht a month, which is roughly about $150.
Wait.
We'll back up on that one, right? Yeah.
You got an apartment for roughly $150 US American. Let's go into that. What is the cost of living like that over there?
Well, the cost of living is extreme one way and extreme the other way. I mean, just like anywhere else, it all comes down to your comfort level. It comes down to what you're willing to sacrifice. And, like all of us, typically when we do better, like we'll start in one place, and then as things progress and we get better and our situation improves, then, we tend to scale up a little bit, still trying to keep it reasonable, but, we tend to scale up a little bit and all of that. But the cost of living, there's people, I personally know people that live here on, let's see here, what does Steve do? A friend of mine has a YouTube channel. His YouTube channel is called Thrifty Steve. I'm not sure if he uploads to it anymore, but basically he shows people how he lives here, or how he used to live here on around $300 to $400 a month, and he gives like a full breakdown of his income reports and all that stuff. Showing dollar by dollar how much he spends.
$300 to $400 a month.
Yeah. Now, keep in mind, it's a comfortable place that he was living in at the time. He's not living there anymore. But a comfortable place he was living in at the time. He had air conditioning. He had a bed to sleep in, had a TV, all of that stuff. But it was just a small room. It's pretty much like a bed, a TV, a little bit of space around the bed, a closet to put your clothes, a bathroom where you can shower, that kind of stuff, which at the core level, it's really all you need. But, once you start accumulating things again and stuff like that, then of course, you need bigger, you have bigger space requirements and all that stuff. But one of the things, if you can eat Thai food, or if you enjoy Thai food, it's even better because you can eat a meal for anywhere from, let's say $1 to, you know, $3 a meal, and $3 is on the like good side. If you're into Thai food. Me personally, I don't eat Thai food, which is kind of crazy for me living here. But I eat Western food, and because most of the ingredients for Western food is imported, because of that, one of my biggest expenses every month is food, which is kind of crazy.
Now, when I was talking about, you know, because if you didn't know, Nick and I met at Vid Summit, and we had a good time hanging out, and he schooled me on a lot of stuff. And I had mentioned on the channel that I have someone living in Thailand. Like, if you have $1,500 a month US, you can live like a king over there.
Oh, and yeah, very comfortable.
I'm talking about a nice place. Now, y'all don't really have cars over there. Y'all, most people get around.
Oh, there's cars. Plenty of cars, but here's the thing with cars is, like in the States, if you have a dependable income and you can verify that income, then you can get a loan and you can, you know, pay monthly on that car. Here, as a Westerner, if you're not working for a Thai company, then you don't have the default credit that comes with you from your home country. You have to, like, you can't build credit here or any of that stuff. Like, you have to have a job here in Thailand in order to get any type of credit. So if you're going to buy a car or a motorbike or anything, a house, any of that stuff, you have to actually pay cash for it. So you don't have the option to go and finance stuff. So if you're getting a car, you're dropping money on it. And because of the import tax, they actually, like a Honda Civic here, for example, costs about $30,000 US. So if you are, you know, like, you can be driving a BMW for that in the States, but here, you know, you're going to get a Honda Civic for that same price, or you know, a nice truck or something like that. So so in terms of what other things cost, yes, food, things like that are cheap. The cost of living, like the place that I'm in now, it's a decent sized place. I have like, if I open up the curtains behind me, it's nighttime now, but if I were to open up the curtains behind me right here, you know, it's just a panoramic view of the mountains, which is just killer, and all that stuff. So the actual, what you get for the money is fantastic. But again, you can go the super bootstrap version, which, you know, a lot of people watching this, you know, that are, you know, they're hustlers, they're trying to make it online. You know, that situation, the specific area that I'm in, Chiang Mai, is a hotbed of digital nomads, people that are traveling around, people that are going from low cost country to low cost country, networking with other digital entrepreneurs for the sake of building their business, keeping their costs low while they're spending all the money on their business.
Now, that's an interesting point you bring up, because I started seeing that because people were moving to Thailand, they were moving to Bali because the cost of living was so cheap, but it also gives you time to build your business because, you know, with your origin story, because like I had to turn the sound on. How long did it take you to get comfortable from scratch, from leaving that mat and your brother's floor to living like you're living now?
It took me a while because, you know, like when I first came over here, part of me coming over here was working with my brother in the graphic design business. And, you know, I had clients coming in and things like that, and I could have upgraded my lifestyle faster, but instead, you know, of course you want to build up, you know, those cushions, you know, your safety net, so to speak, because when you're living abroad, it's a totally different risk than if you're living at home. Like, if things don't work out for me, I can't just go get a job to tide me over until I can turn things around, right? So you have to build those cushions in to make sure that in the event something happens, you don't have to just pack up everything and head out, right? So because of that, I would say a good year, really, before I was like, okay, now I'm going to start, you know, now I'm comfortable enough. I feel that I have, you know, enough saved up and all that I'm going to start, you know, just upscaling my lifestyle a little bit at a time. And even still, man, like, I'll be honest with you, like part of my commitment to myself moving over here was, you know, like a lot of people, you know, like when I was back in the States, I got really caught up in, you know, I got to have nice watches. I got to have nice this. I got to have a nice car. I got to have, you know, all this nice stuff. And one of the things that I did when I moved over here is I got rid of everything. And I literally moved over here with a duffel bag and a backpack. And the part of the agreement with myself of that was still trying to maintain a relatively minimal lifestyle. Because one thing that I noticed was when I first came over here, I made a commitment for a year. And then that was my testing ground to where I was like, okay, I'm going to run this for a year, see how it works out. And if it works out okay, then I'm going to go back to America. I'm going to sell everything and then I'm going to make it permanent. So what I discovered over that year is all of that stuff that was so important to me that I had to have, that, you know, made me feel good about myself. One thing that I noticed was that none of that stuff mattered, right? It was just stuff, right? Because I didn't need it, right? I spent a year and I didn't even think about that stuff, right? So one of my commitments now, outside of, and I'll be honest, you know, like outside of, I spend a lot on computer gear or computers. I spend a lot on camera gear, and just general, like this area right here, like just this office area, like this area right here is where most of my spending happens outside of food, because outside of that, I try to, like, you know, I'm not wearing a watch or anything like that. Like I just try to, you know, keep my lifestyle minimum. But even with that, you know, you still accumulate a lot of stuff. So.
All right, because one of the points I wanted to reference, because on this channel, we talk about building business, and many people have this hard problem with delayed gratification. You were in an extremely low income environment, low cost of living environment, and it still took you a year to get to a decent place. And I just wanted to leave that impression on the people who are watching this stream, because I got a term, it's called hustler porn. Because so many people, they hear, you know, the story's kind of like yours, except yours is real, that I was sleeping on my brother's floor, but it took me a year. Many of these people are saying it took mere weeks or just a few months. And the next thing you know, Ferrari and Big Booty Betty. And that's just one of the things. So you're over there in this hotbed of expats and nomad and I guess digital nomads. Do you think once you go over there, it's hard to come back to America?
Without question. And that actually happens on multiple different levels. One is the level of just interaction that you get here in terms of, like say for example, like if you go to a restaurant or you go to Starbucks or you go to, you know, just anywhere to where, you know, you have like just a public service type of thing. In most cases, as long as you're not in like a super touristy area, in most cases, you know, the people are just so awesome. And the service that comes with that, in terms of like, you know, you go to Starbucks, like they're just so nice. They're so, you know, like every Starbucks trains their staff to be nice, but they're just so over accommodating. They'll come around, check on you, hey, you know, just want to make sure everything's okay. And, you know, all of that stuff. And just the people, right? The people is a humongous factor with it. Number two, yeah, we'll take the service industry out of that and we'll just wipe that away and just say the people are awesome. Next up on the list is the other people that you meet when you are living out of the country. Like when you're in the States, right? You have friends that have jobs. When you're in the States, you have friends that have their day-to-day grind that they do. And typically that revolves around when you go meet up and you have dinner with somebody. It's like, oh yeah, man, you know, how's it going? Everything's going great, man. But my boss is such a whatever. It's Saturday right now, but man, that means I only got one more day left and then I got to go back to the job, man. This, you know, it's cool. My job's okay, but you know, it's crap, man. I really don't want to go to my job on Monday, right? Here, every single person you meet, they're either on vacation or there's somebody that's doing something. Right. So instead of being around people that are in that rat race, so to speak, that are, you know, that are just always seeking employment from one place to another place and trying to climb the corporate ladder, which there's nothing wrong with that at all, if that's the lifestyle that you want to live. But for the people that want to separate themselves from that, like when you live in a place outside of the country, the only people that you're meeting are people that are either doing something in terms of their own ventures online or whatever, or you're meeting people that are on vacation. So the conversations that you have are a lot more positive, a lot more uplifting. It's very rare that I talk to somebody and I'm brainstorming on ideas about something like, yeah, you know, I have a YouTube channel. Really? You're a YouTuber? Yeah. And then they start talking about that. And then instead of saying like, oh, well, that's kind of weird, or like I do this kind of thing, it's like, wow, you know, that's pretty cool. So how are you leveraging that, you know, for your business, and how are you doing this, that, and the other thing? And then we start having that conversation instead of it just being kind of something that's glazed over to talk about how bad something sucks about their job. You know, I wish I could do YouTube because my job sucks. You know what I mean? Like you just don't get that. It's
that's awesome. Really interesting, because when I became a YouTuber and I started to come out my silo and I started to reach people, like I still have regular friends, but most of my new friends, YouTube channels, online course creators, and the conversation is always, what are you doing? How are you going to grow? The energy is so different. So that's what I get. But you get that every day because you're not meeting people who are like sucking, who have suck ass jobs. I mean,
right. Yeah, we'll just call it what it is. Yeah, we'll just call it what it is. I'm not meeting those people, right?
That's amazing. All right, I wanted to say, hey, for those of you who want to hit a super chat, thank you. And also below in the comments is Nick's channel. Go ahead and subscribe. And I want to do a few shout outs to O'Shea Duke Jackson. Thanks for the super chat of 25 Polish dollars. And let's see, let's go down here real quick because there's a few that came in.
Yeah, Yuri Bryce, what's going on? Looks like Yuri Bryce saying that she loves the channel, so I just want to give that shout out real quick. So thank you very much for that, and for O'Shea, thank you as well. I appreciate it.
Vin Desai and West Splash, thanks for the super chat. Now let's get into the money, because one of the things we talk about here, and I should kind of give you some overlay. I think anyone can start an online business and make money. The problem is the timelines. For me, it was kind of fast, but I just came out of a 10-year business. So I had sales skills, I had marketing skills, but the average person just starting raw with none of that, you're looking at a year to 3 years. You know, as tested to your experience. Now, all these expats that you're hanging out with, because one of the things I started doing before you came on is watching a lot of people who were living in Thailand, Bali, and I've noticed that there are people who are making killer money. I mean, they could easily live here, but they choose to live there.
Yeah.
And I think what you were just talking about, the energy is different. The stress level is totally different. Even because, I mean, what is the best thing to you about living in Thailand?
The lifestyle. Like when I wake up every day, the process that I go through every day, if I can just continue out my days doing that process every day, I'm good. Like I love every single day that I spend. So, and that's not just being a positive person, but it's like, it's literally when I wake up and I actually go out into the world and I go out into Thailand, like the experiences that I have 99% of the time are fantastic. And then I have my, typical process that I go through, and then I'll mess around during the day or whatever. And that entire process is just fantastic. The scenery is awesome. I'm constantly engaged because when I'm in America, even when I go back to visit, because it's so ingrained in my brain from growing up there, like I can go through my whole trip in America pretty much on autopilot. Because everything, where to find everything, everything's comfortable, and I go through it pretty much on autopilot. Here, when I go out, even though I've been here for 11 years, when I go out into the world here, like I'm still engaged. I still have to figure stuff out. I still have to, try to get over different hurdles in terms of like, okay, I need a particular kind of paint. Where do I go and I find this particular kind of paint? Right. And I have to go and actually try to figure it out through the, because it's a totally different shopping experience here than what you get in the States in terms of things like that. But with that said, I mean, we have world-class shopping malls. There's people here that drive Lamborghinis, Rolls Royces, all of that stuff as well. So we have all of that side of things, but then we also have the side of things like we don't have a Home Depot. We don't have a Lowe's, right? And the shops that we have that are similar to those, it's just a totally different thing. It's not a Lowe's or a Home Depot in any way, shape, or form. Not even close.
Got one question. Yuri Bruce, thanks for the $5 super chat.
Hey, thanks.
Nick Nimmin, have you bought property in Thailand, and how is the market there?
I have not, and I won't say why on a public conversation here, but just for the safety side of things. But I have not, no. But now that things are kind of stabilized a little bit, I'm considering doing so this year, actually.
Okay. One thing, we talked about the money. You don't have to give exact figures, but since you started rolling, how much money do you make doing what you do? You have a YouTube channel, you do consulting, and probably a few other things that I don't know about.
Yeah. Now I'm extremely comfortable. I would say that over the course of 2, maybe 3 months that I probably do. I mean, I don't know who's watching the chat right now, but I probably do more in that 2 or 3 month span than a lot of people watching probably do over the course of a year right now.
Solid. That's solid.
Yeah.
Do you use VAs, or you just run everything yourself?
Yeah. Right now I run everything myself. I'm just in the process now to where it's starting to be too much. And because of that, I'm actually just now starting to reach out for help. I'm actually in talks with somebody right now about helping me out on social media stuff because I'm horrible at Twitter. So I'm talking to somebody right now about helping me there. I'm actually completely taking one of the design services that I do. I'm completely taking that offline probably this coming week. And I'm just kind of transitioning what it is that I'm doing right now in terms of where I spend my time, but I'm just starting to cross that bridge right now.
Okay, because apparently you've just grown to the point where you can do you're tapped out. You got to bring some money.
Yeah, I'm really close to being tapped out, but I want to get this stuff in place before I get tapped out, because as you know, man, like once it starts piling up, it starts happening quick. You know what I mean? And once it's weird because it seems like you work so long in order to get to a certain spot, and then once you get to that certain spot, like to go from here to here takes a long time, and then to go from like here to here, it's just kind of like wham, like wow, now all this stuff is happening so fast, and because of that, you know, sometimes you can be a little bit unprepared for it, and and it becomes and it can start to get overwhelming relatively fast. So yeah, I'm definitely trying to build that stuff in place before it does get to the point of just being stressed out, because if I start being stressed out, like that's not what I'm here for. You know what I mean? Like I want to enjoy myself. So as soon as it starts getting stressful, then I'll really start having to take the axe to what it is that I'm doing and the different, you know, projects that I'm working on and things like that. But I definitely am going to be hiring VAs very quick.
Okay. Now, what is your read on how many is there like an influx of Americans moving to Thailand, or is that, because that's what it seemed like to me with all the channels that I was watching. Since you're on the ground, what's happening over there?
It's not necessarily that Americans are moving out or moving to Thailand specifically. It's that Americans are getting out of America. Like if you have, here's what happens, and you get this conversation a lot when you're hanging out at Starbucks and you're talking with somebody else that is just, you know, that is just like hanging out, you know, that you're just talking to. Hey, they're working on a laptop, you're working on a laptop, and it's like, oh hey, you know what's going on? Yeah, I seen you around here a few times. Whatever, what's your thing? One very common theme that you get is, I was sitting at home, and we'll say this in the voice of somebody else. So I was sitting at home and I, you know, was checking my accounts and all this stuff, and I was checking the money coming in, and I just had an epiphany, and I realized that I can work from anywhere as long as I have a computer and an internet connection. Right. So it's not necessarily that America's bad. It's not necessarily that someplace else is better, because that's all based on your own perspective and your own expectations and what you like and don't like and all that. But it's more about just the fact that the internet has made it possible for us as Americans, as people in all countries around the world, to say, I don't have to be stuck in a particular place. If I want to go live another lifestyle for a year, for 6 months, for 10 years, I can go do that. And then if I say, okay, well, you know what, I've had enough, home's still going to be there. I can still go back at any time. Right. So it's like, you know, you can just go out and experience the world a little bit and then come back. And that seems to be what a lot of people are doing. And then some people, once they get out, they're like, you know what, I actually like it better outside than I do inside. So I'm just actually just gonna stay out.
That's amazing. I got a super chat from William Salace. In a little while, we're going to get into the YouTube section of this. Great live stream. What are the upload and download speeds like in Thailand?
I'll actually do a speed test as we get into that, and I'll give you exact numbers of what I'm getting right now. But I can tell you, like I do live streams from here once a month, and then I actually have a live studio to where we do live streams on my channel every Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern time. And the internet that we have is plenty to make that happen. Like right now, as the test is happening, it looks like my download right now is 66, almost 67 megabytes per second. And it looks like my upload speed is jumping right around the 22 megabytes per second mark.
Okay, cool. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So it definitely gets it done.
How long have you been doing YouTube?
I uploaded my first video to YouTube on my current channel in September of 2014. And my journey there went from uploading that video, having no idea what was going on YouTube, just for the sake of saying, okay, well, I'm going to try to grow like an email list or something from this, because I was getting into the whole internet marketing thing. And I said, I'm going to upload a video here and I'm going to see kind of how it does. And I'm going to start uploading videos, you know, just kind of here and there when I think of things to upload videos about. And I uploaded a handful of videos. I'd say maybe 10 videos, maybe 15, but I think closer to 10. And another YouTube person reached out to me and they were like, hey, with the personality, with the quality of the videos that you make and all that stuff, I think that you would be better served if you did another type of channel. Daryl Leeds, Glendon, you know Daryl. Yeah. But he reached out to me and he said, I think that, you would be better served doing another type of channel. And I was like, okay, well, this guy knows what he's talking about, so I'm going to listen to him. And I launched another channel. I spent like, I think 9 months getting the channel ready. And then I spent about 9 months on the channel itself. But I launched another channel called All Our Questions. And that went for a while. And I think about 9 months. And that channel was awesome. Loved making the content. And that channel basically taught me not everything about YouTube, but that channel taught me what YouTube can do, kind of in terms of like the feedback that you're getting, in terms of the reach that you can have, the impact you can have on other people and things like that, that I didn't realize when I just started uploading videos. And I did that one for a while. And Daryl told me, he said, hey, if you're going to do this, make sure that you set an upload schedule that you can maintain for a long period of time, because YouTube is a long game, as you know, Glendon. And I said, okay, well, yeah, absolutely. And then I just went all in, and I was like, I'm going to do 3 uploads a week. And because of that, and the type of content that channel was, and the research required for the information I was sharing, it literally took over my life for that period of time. And I burned myself out. I started losing design clients because when I had the option, to work on videos or to go work on designs for my design clients, I always chose videos. And because of that, that business started to suffer. So I was basically taking a hit in income. I was taking a hit in terms of, the time that I was spending on that channel. And I had to sit down and make a decision. And that decision was, okay, well, if my income keeps going down, then I'm going to have to pack up and go home. So I don't want that to happen. So what I'm going to do is I've been affected by the YouTube bug, so to speak, in terms of like just falling in love with in terms of falling in love with YouTube, right? So I said, okay, I've been affected by that. I've been trained essentially on how to do a successful YouTube channel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my original channel, and I'm going to start uploading content there, because that information is in my head. So at the time, I wasn't doing YouTube tips or anything like that. I was just sharing general, video ideas and like how to be comfortable on camera, that kind of stuff. I wasn't giving any YouTube tips. And I went back and I started on that channel, and I pretty much ran the 2 channels side by side for just a little bit of time. And then I had a conversation with a really good friend of mine, who you also know, Glendon, or his name is Brian G. Johnson. And during our conversation, I was talking to him, and I was like, man, I'm burning the candle at both ends. I'm running like both these channels. I'm having like a really hard time. Like I'm stressing out. And he was like, man, he said, just one thing that I just want to mention to you, we're friends. I want to just tell you this. And he was like, there's a lot of power in focus. He said, you're trying to do so much right now. He said that if you can just focus on one thing, that would probably be the best thing that you could probably do. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I think you're right with that. Of course, the conversation was longer, but I was like, yeah, I think you're definitely onto something there. And I said, okay, I'm just going to stop uploading the other one. I'm going to focus everything on this other one, because it doesn't take me as much time, because it's going to allow me to do my other business in the meantime as I get this one going. And that's what I did. And then he and I later ended up doing a collaboration on how to rank videos for search. And then people started asking me, hey, you should do more tips videos. So I'm like, okay. So then I started doing more tips videos. And then now that's pretty much all I do is YouTube tips videos, because that's what my audience wants. They want to know, information about how to grow their channels on YouTube. So that's pretty much my journey. It's in terms of how I got to here. Now, now I'm at like, I've gained in the past 12 months now. I've gained probably, yeah, man, I've probably gained just in the past 12 months another 100 and, because I'm at 176 right now. So I've gained probably at least 150, maybe 145 in the last 12 months.
Well, part of that is because this is one of the things, because I'm going to tell you something that I'm doing. Well, I'll go back first. Like when I started, I read this blog and it said start 3 blogs. And one of them is going to emerge, because it seems like that's what happened to you. Is like you were doing these both channels, but one channel was doing significantly better than the other, and the other one you had to put a lot of hard work into, and you had to put a lot of drudgery into. But I think the YouTube channel was definitely getting the most feedback, the most views compared to your other channel. Yes or no?
Not really. The other one was doing well. Like like even on autopilot, like that new one, it crossed over like 10,000 subscribers just recently. But even on that one, like running them side by side at that point in time, because of the effort that I was putting into the new one was doing better, but it was just impeding so much on life that I had to make that decision in order to switch. And because of that, though, I mean, I'm glad that I did. But on the flip side, if I would have kept going, who knows where that other one would be, right? But now, you know, like I'm totally happy with how things worked out. But it was doing okay. It was definitely doing okay.
Okay. Because my journey was definitely different because I had 3 business credit mentor, passionatefriday.com, and Urban Pack Rat. And Urban Pack Rat was like an afterthought because I knew how to do it, and I was just uploading content almost on autopilot, and that's the one that made the money. We got a few questions here. Lance Brown, how often do you return to America for passport or other paperwork? Do you even have to come back? Because I know there's an embassy there.
No, yeah, there's embassies, there's consulates, all that stuff. So anything like that I need to take care of, I can do it locally here. Like literally locally. I don't even have to go to Bangkok for it. There's a consulate about 15 minutes from where I live.
Awesome. Thanks for the super chat, Lamote. All right, so O'Shea Duke Jackson, I remember when I had more subscribers than him. We're about to get into this because a lot of you don't understand how YouTube works, and this is why I brought Nick on, because it doesn't work like you think it works. And because I do channel, I don't do, you know, I audit channels, but I don't tell the person. I just go through them to see if they're growing or they're dying and doing social blade. You know, a lot of channels are dying right now because they don't understand what's going on with YouTube, and it is freaking some people out.
Yeah. One thing that I can tell people is at the very base level of everything, and YouTube even says this publicly. They say, instead of worrying about what the algorithm wants, worry about what your audience wants. And if you make that content and they watch, then the algorithm will follow. At the end of the day, it all comes down to what it is that your audience wants, how your audience is responding to your content. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. And then, of course, every channel, and Glendon and I were talking about this before we went live here, you know, of course, with that, you know, every channel has its own little, you know, algorithm, so to speak, that it's working within itself. But at the base level, making sure that the content that you are making is exactly what it is that the audience you're targeting is wanting to watch. That's at the base level. That's how you win.
Now, all right. So if you want to ask a question about YouTube, just go ahead and maybe throw a super chat on it to highlight it, because we're about to geek out. This is about to get kind of crazy because I love having someone else who does YouTube on here so we can discuss this. So I'm going to tell you what I'm doing. Remember when they were talking about clusters at YouTube?
Yep.
So I'm creating my own cluster. Now, I'm a month in and I've already seen benefit. Now, fortunately, this is all I do, so I have the time to do it. It would be hard for someone to do it with a job. What would be the best thing for someone who has a YouTube channel, but it isn't growing? What would be the first thing they need to do?
In my case, if I take on a new client and they're stagnant, or they're just not getting results in any way, shape, or form, the very first thing that I do is I go into their audience retention reports. I go to the audience retention reports and I say, okay, how are people responding to your content? Because that report is there to let you know how people are responding to your content. And if people are not watching through your video, even for a little bit, then YouTube's not going to promote you. So there's a handful of things. There's a handful of things that matter here. There's how people are responding to your content in terms of the actual watch time that you're getting per video. There's how people are responding to your thumbnails in terms of your click-through rate on your thumbnails. And we're getting ready to get data for that. They're going to start rolling that impression data out, and man, game changer across the board for people like us that nerd out on this stuff. And then of course your titles as well, the click-through rate on your titles. So basically once you learn how to get people to click on your thumbnails, that's step number one, because that's your doorway. That's the very first place that you get to introduce your content to your current viewers and to new viewers. So that's how you grow a channel. You have to get those clicks. You have to win those clicks. Once you get that, once you actually get them into your video, then you have to say, okay, how can I keep people watching the video, right? How can I take them from a 10% audience retention, or let's say, how can I take them from like a 59-second watch time per video to a 5-minute, 10-minute, 15-minute watch time per video that you're putting out, depending on the length of your videos. And then once you get that figured out, you have to say, okay, well, now how can I get people to comment more? How can I increase the view to subscribe ratio on my videos? How can I get people to like my content more? How can I get people to add it to more playlists? How can I get people to share it? How can I get people, when they're watching one video, how can I get them to watch more of my videos so that I can keep them inside of my trap? How can I do all this stuff? So you start with your thumbnails, then go to your audience retention. From your audience retention, then you amplify your engagement, your view to subscribe ratio, and then you start tying it all together in terms of keeping people inside of your own trap, so that every single person that comes in and watches one of your videos, you increase the opportunity to get, or your chances of getting, more views, more watch time, more engagement, more shares, more playlist ads, and all that stuff for every single person that comes into every single video that you have.
Yeah, because I have a lot of people who ask me, but see, I'm doing something different because my YouTube channel has almost died like 4 times. And you know, when you talked about the subscribe,
you're in there a CPR. You're like, come on, baby. Come on, baby. Right?
Pretty much. No, I mean, well, this is the thing. I send off massive traffic off the platform, so you know what that does to a channel.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because I'll put paid traffic on certain videos, and my watch through rate with paid traffic is like 80. It's like 60%. I stopped doing those because I started making better videos. But when I can get a video that has a watch through time of 80 something, 82, 83, 84% with paid traffic, that's a good video. But the thing is,
really good video.
This is what's happening with YouTube. So I'm letting you know, don't do what I am doing, because I am systematically doing something that literally is going to kill. It's like my channel has a disease, and by using paid traffic, I keep my channel alive. And if you try to do this, your channel will die. I'm just letting you know, because YouTube is all about keeping traffic on the platform. So if you want to start a YouTube channel and then have an email list, and every day you're sending people off the platform to that email list, your channel is going to die.
Yeah. Right. And that's something that people overlook a lot. Like as an example, like with the whole monetization thing that happened, right? Where people are like, oh, you know, this sucks that I'm going to be demonetized and all that stuff. It's like, well, I actually recommend to people when you're first starting a channel that you don't run ads on it, because you're going to create that wall between the click and your content, right? So that was kind of funny. But outside of that, like you're talking about sending people to email lists and things like that. You know, when people are first starting out, you know, everybody wants to put the social media links in their header. They want to put the social media links down below the video. They want to put all these email lists and things like that in there, which is great if it's more important to you to grow your email list than it is for you to grow your YouTube channel. Totally works. But if your main focus is, you know what, I'm going to swell my YouTube channel up so that I can get my influence together, so I can really tap in on the opportunities that come with having that influence, then you need to focus everything on growing the YouTube channel. That means taking the social media header links out of your channel art. That means taking the links out of your descriptions and just keeping everything on platform. But, you know, people like you and I, Glendon, you know, this is what we do. So because of that, we have to put those links in the description, right? We have to send people to email lists. We have to send them to affiliate products. We have to do all that stuff in order to keep the back end side of everything rolling as well, right?
Well, I'm going to tell you the strategy that I'm doing.
All right.
The cluster, because I started it because I've got like 7 channels. I know, insanity. And
nice.
Well, some of them are going to die, because essentially what's this channel's doing well, Disruptive Mail's doing well. And what's happening is I got to set up the channel to have congruent audiences, so it makes sense for this person who watched this video to go over here and watch this video. Right. And I saw an increase within the first month. But part of the journey with YouTube, because, you know, like I said, I do a lot of auditing. I know someone that has a channel. This dude went from nothing to about 50,000 subscribers before he hit his subscriber count, strictly doing collabs. Nothing else. He doesn't do titles correctly. He doesn't use keywords. Sometimes he doesn't even fill out the description.
Sure.
Exploded. So what has been your experience on collabs? Because that's something I have not really done, and that's why I started doing them.
Collaborations are huge, and I'll tell you why. One is the like you get to have conversations with people in terms of getting to know people, right? Like you and I, you know, like we've talked on Facebook a handful of times. We hung out at Bid Summit, you know, we're doing this right now. And, you know, because of all of this stuff, like if I'm like, you know, hey, Glenda, man, I'm wanting to do this type of thing. I'm putting this website together. Have you ever used this particular service? Have you ever used Kajabi? If so, what are your thoughts on it? And this, that, and the other thing. You create these relationships, right? And that can be extremely, extremely beneficial. for any business. I mean, it's basically digital networking. It's just like the old days of going into, you know, like a BNI meeting and meeting up with other business owners, right? It's the same idea. And then from that, if you take that part out of the equation, you're basically, with every collaboration that you do, you're creating an additional traffic source or an additional doorway into your channel. So then not only can people find you from your own content that you're putting out there, but they can also find you through all of these other channels that are also pushing traffic your way. And those videos are going to live on those other channels for a very long time to come. So in addition to building relationships, which is really the most important part, but in addition to that, you're also creating these additional traffic sources into your channel and putting yourself out there in front of other audiences.
All right, we got this Yuri Bruce. I have one channel that has 23% audience retention, another that has 37%. What's a decent audience retention? What is optimal?
What you want to think about is you want to think about, instead of thinking about the percentage, which is also important, but you also want to think about how much actual watch time you're getting per video, because on YouTube, watch time is king. So what you want to do, you want to look at your audience retention report as watch time is king, the percentage viewed is queen, right? So in terms of the actual watch time that you're getting, you want to try to get as much as you possibly can. And in order to do that, you want to have a higher percentage viewed. So if you can get people on, let's say, a 10-minute video, if you can get people through 50% of a 10-minute video, you're doing fantastic. If you can get them through 80% of a 10-minute video, you're really doing well, and the algorithm is really going to respond to that. If you can get them through 90%, then you're probably going to be pushed. Yeah, you're probably going to be pushed around like crazy in terms of YouTube, and that video is probably going to do very, very well as long as it's a longer video. Now, if you get a 90% retention on a 1-minute video, not that big of a deal, because you're still not stacking up, you know, that much watch time on that particular video. You can still get it pushed around, but it's not going to stack up that much watch time for you, which isn't going to really gain much authority for you on your channel. So in terms of the ideal retention, let's say if we break it down into 10-minute blocks, because some people, you know, we're going to be on here for like an hour or so. So like saying that an 80% retention wouldn't be fair for a video like this, because it's going to be a long replay video, right? But if you're making a 10-minute video, then saying like an 80% retention is fantastic. If you can get to 50, then you're doing okay. If you can go 50 plus, then you're going to do okay long-term on your channel. But of course, what you want to do is you want to go into your audience retention. You want to look for the places where people are dropping off, and you want to try to figure out why. You know, you want to say, okay, what is it that I'm doing on a regular basis in my videos? Take notes on every single video. What is it that I'm doing that seems to make people drop off? Am I using an intro in my video? Maybe the type of content that you have doesn't support intros, right? Because some channels, like a gaming channel, for example, gaming channels, the expectations that come with people that watch gaming channels, most gaming channels will have some type of intro literally right when the video starts, something short. Some gaming channels will have an intro a little bit in, and even if they do have an intro a little bit in or at the beginning, if that intro is too long, it can cause a huge drop in audience retention right there at the beginning of the video. So right there, let's say that you have, I actually have somebody that I was consulting with. They had a 20-second intro at the very right. They had a 20-second intro at the very beginning of their video because they thought it looked cool. This makes me look professional and all that. And when you're first coming into this, a lot of people think that. They think, well, if I do this stuff, it's going to make my videos look professional. People are going to respond to it. But at the end of the day, you have to dig into your audience retention reports to see what people are actually responding to and use that data instead of using what you think people should respond to. So what he did is he actually cut that intro down to 20 or that 20-second intro down to, it was like 3 or 5 seconds. And because of that, he got a huge boost in his overall audience retention because all of those people at the beginning weren't leaving right as his intro dropped. So you have to look for the specific type of content that you make, the specific type of people that are watching your channel, and think about those people and look in your audience retention reports and say, okay, when I talk for too long without showing B-roll footage or people dropping off, if I don't talk long enough and I'm showing too much B-roll footage or people dropping off, if I'm on camera for too long or people leaving, if I'm on camera for just a little bit of time or people leaving, you have to like look at all of these things and try to figure out how to make better videos for the specific demographic of people that are watching the content that you're making.
Dude, I actually got rid of all intros just for that reason, because especially when you're using paid traffic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
When I had an intro, I had a 50 to my highest was maybe 62% with the intro. I completely dropped the intro, got straight into the topic, mentioned the topic, and that's when I started getting 70 to 82%, 83% watch. Just that one channel.
Right. My brother's starting a channel. He's actually launching his first video, I believe, tomorrow. Nimmin is his name if you want to go subscribe to his channel. DEE. But on his channel, like I told him, I'm like, hey, you know, when you're first starting this, don't even use an intro. The only reason I use an intro on my channel is because I'm targeting video creators and they think it looks cool. So that's the only reason. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have an intro. On my All Our Questions channel, I didn't have an intro. I just had a little.
It's like 3 seconds. It's like flash and you're in.
Bam, bam. Right. Because I'm trying to communicate with the demographic of people that are watching my content, because video creators think that, you know, hey, I want an intro for my stuff. I want to make my stuff look cool. Right. So therefore I'm communicating that to them without actually having to say anything. Right. That's the only reason that I use an intro in my content. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have an intro. And I still struggle with, should I even keep it in there or not?
I know, because I got rid of it because I noticed YouTube has changed. Intros were really in at one point. People had to have them, but I noticed that my retention rate just plummeted. And when I got rid of it, it just started to go up. We got Erica in here. If you put links in descriptions, send traffic off YouTube. Should you use paid traffic?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like if you're in my opinion, if you're using paid traffic, you should only use paid traffic if there's something that you can recoup on the back end. Because basically, like if you can't gauge an ROI, then you're just throwing money away for the sake of vanity numbers. Like it doesn't make any sense. I mean, if you're really attached to those numbers, it makes sense. But in reality, if you're not marketing something, if you're not selling something, if you don't have some way to recoup that money on the back end, to where it's like, hey, if I spend $100 in promotions for my channel, then I'm going to make $200 or $125 or whatever that, you know, breaks down to for you. If you don't have that in place, then really you're just throwing money away for nothing. Pretty
much, because that's the only reason that like I said, if I took off the paid traffic on this channel, it would die. Because every day I send off massive amounts of traffic to my online courses. But the payoff is so good for me because, you know, on the bad month, I'll do 25,000. On a good month, I'll do 60,000. So, but I'm only spending, because that's something else I have to play around with, because the way paid traffic works is if you make a really good video, your video goes further and you get to spend less. And that's one of the things that I, with my old strategy, that didn't work, because a lot of videos were getting 40%, 50%, but still I was making money. And then that stopped because Google AdWords changed up their algorithm, because Google AdWords has an algorithm and YouTube has an algorithm. So if you're not selling something, you're just better off going to Nick's channel, the links below, and learning how to do YouTube organically, because even with spending money, your money doesn't go as far as it used to if you don't know what you're doing.
And if you don't know what you're doing, that's the key thing. And like you were talking about earlier, and I would love to jump back on that if you don't mind. You were talking earlier about the amount of time that it takes. And one thing that I really think that it's important for people to know is when you come into YouTube or online marketing in any shape or form, and you don't have any type of experience behind you, like, you know, like I had businesses that I ran before I got into this. I did sales for a long time before I got into this and all that. So I had a little bit of that in place, which definitely is something that was helpful, a little bit of internet marketing and all that stuff. But there's a lot of people that come into this stuff and they expect overnight, hey, you know, I'm going to put up 10 videos and then bam, I can ride this to the bank. But in reality, you know, there's things that you have to learn. Like there's things that when you are first starting out with all this stuff, things that once you get into it, it seems obvious because you're like, oh God, I never even thought of that. That makes so much sense. But until you cross those bridges, until you have those aha moments, there's a lot of stuff that you don't even see that's happening right before your eyes. In terms of, you know, like as an example, one thing that people do on YouTube is, you know, they'll make thumbnails and they'll say what it is. They'll put all this text on their thumbnails, which is it's good to use text in your thumbnails so people, you know, have some context of what the video is about. But they'll put like these images in their thumbnails, but they'll make what it is that they're actually talking about super small so that people on mobile devices and stuff, they'll have no idea. Like let's say you're talking about how to repair a crack in a wall, right? Okay. So instead of making a really big shot of that crack in the wall with maybe like half of it covered with like spackling or something like that, they'll have just a picture of the wall to where you won't even be able to see the crack on it. And just little things like that in terms of, you know, what can I do to make it just stupidly obvious to the people that are searching around YouTube? People are overlooking that step, right? They're overlooking, how can I make this just so obvious that people have no question but to know what this video is about, right? People are overlooking little things like that. And that's part of building those skill sets to make all of this stuff work. And that's why some channels do better than others, because some people get a little bit more tuned into that a little bit faster than other people.
Yeah, like going into what Nick was saying, like this, everything you're doing on YouTube, you should do for this. This is called browser features, and this will make your channel grow like crazy. Because if you notice, like right now, I'm all up in this frame. I'm all up in your grill. But if you're on the desktop, I look huge. But if you're on mobile, that's perfect. And you got to design everything for mobile, because that's something else that happened with Google AdWords. Because when I was doing my first AdWord campaigns, desktop reigned supreme, desktop, laptop, tablets. Now, most traffic is coming from mobile. And if your channel is not optimized for mobile, you're not going to activate browser features, and you're not going to ball out. I mean, you can have great content, but if you don't present your content correctly, you're not going anywhere.
Right. A friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, he used to make the analogy of, and this was about marketing in general, but he used to make the analogy, and he said, you know, he called it his the best hamburger in the world analogy. And the idea was, you know, you can have the best hamburger in the world. You can make the best to where people eat it and they have like a spiritual experience when they're eating your hamburger. But if nobody knows that you make the best hamburger in the world, if your marketing isn't on point, if you're, you know, getting people to actually taste that hamburger is not on point, then nobody's ever going to know that you make a spiritual experience inducing hamburger, right? So it's really important that you get all of this stuff together so that you can let people know that you make awesome content, or that you share awesome info, or that so that you can just give people peeks into your life or whatever type of content it is that you make for YouTube.
Ben the Bartender, intros suck if you're binge watching. That's a very good statement, and it's a good thing to remember. Wisdom Wealth Advisors, would you recommend starting and building a channel with YouTube, or building a channel on decentralized blockchain service like Steam? I'm gonna let Dick answer that. I got my opinion.
I would do both, and here's the reason why. One, I think the blockchain stuff is awesome. I think that crypto is awesome. I'm actually doing some work with a company called Experty.io, to where they're basically like a call for crypto. Like they charge like a per minute fee for crypto, or for consulting and things like that, but you pay in crypto. But I'm a strong believer in all that. But here's the thing. YouTube is awesome. Humongous audience there. They have tons of built-in traffic you can tap into and all of that stuff. But if you're going to use like DTube or something like that, there's an audience there too, right? It might not be as big. You might not be able to, you know, to really get the humongous results that you're going to get, at least right now, that you can get from YouTube. But the main idea is basically, hey, I'm gonna make this piece of content, and then I'm gonna put this content on YouTube. I'm gonna put this content on DTube. Depending on the type of content that you have, I'm gonna also, when I'm recording this video, I'm gonna make an outro for Facebook specifically, so that I can upload it natively to Facebook. And you find these different platforms that you can put your content on, so that you can meet your audience wherever your audience happens to be. If it's on LinkedIn, if it's on Twitter, if it's on YouTube, Facebook, you know, if it's on a blockchain service. You know, meet your audience where they are. What were your thoughts on it, Glendon?
I'm actually on DTube, and DTube is like YouTube in 2009. You can't upload.
It's a nightmare.
You can't upload. You can't even. It's almost like you can't even upload low HD, which is 720. I started it, and I really looked at it. For me, it was an opportunity cost, because it's so hard to put videos up there that seriously, it could take me, for the time that I can do a video on DTube, I can put up 10 videos on YouTube. So just for me, it's an opportunity cost. But if you're just starting out, you don't have a lot of stuff going on, I think it's a great place to be. But just for me, it doesn't work, because, as Nick said, the traffic on YouTube is sick. And this is something else too. The traffic on YouTube is going to grow.
Oh yeah, it's growing. They're growing 50% year over year. People are like, "Oh, YouTube's dying." YouTube,
I know, right? That cracks me up.
Growing 50% year over year, right? They're trying to turn YouTube into TV, right? I mean, that's what they're doing. They're basically, their competitors are not DTube. DTube isn't even in the ballpark. Their competitors are Netflix. Their competitor is Hulu. Their YouTube's
Oh,
competitor.
yeah.
That TV sitting in your living room. That's who YouTube's competitor is. Like DTube, you know, I mean, it's okay. Okay, here's the thing. So Yuri Bruce is asking me if I'm on DTube. I have a Steam account. Yes, I made an account on DTube, but like Glendon was saying, I was trying to repurpose some of my old All Our Questions content because I was like, hey, this is stuff. People can use it over there. And I literally spent an hour and a half just trying to get a video uploaded, and I gave up because I was like, you know what, it keeps giving me errors. Like the video would go up, but then it wouldn't take a thumbnail, and then I had to refresh everything, and then it would take a thumbnail, but not the video, and it was just kind of like, oh, it was so frustrating. I didn't even continue to do it.
All right.
I was just like, you know what, I'm going back to old school. Take me right back to YouTube. I'm in. Right.
I'm gonna go through the questions real quick, and I'm gonna hit you with the Facebook thing. Honey Bunny, I can tell a lot of people don't watch their own content on different devices just to see what the viewers are seeing. That's actually a very good point.
And even looking at their channels. One thing, because on my live streams that I do every Saturday, on those, basically part of the live stream, a big portion of the live stream, is actually, and that's sponsored by TubeBuddy, the browser plugin for content creators, by the way. But gotta get these plugs in here when I can, right? But on that live stream, basically one of the things that I do there is I actually look at other people's channels and I say, hey, you know, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. And one of the most recurring themes on there is that, one, people don't clearly state what their channel's about in their channel art. Number two, they don't optimize it for mobile. So like when you're looking at their thumbnails, you can't really tell what's going on, you know, when they're small. And even when you go to their channel page, half of what it is that you're seeing that you would normally see on a desktop, like both of the sides are getting cut off to where they have like their name and it looks cool. You know, on a desktop, it's like, wow, looks fantastic. This is awesome. But when you look at it on a phone, it's like, wow, this is stupid. Does this person even know what they're doing? Right? Because they haven't even taken the time to look at it on a phone. It's crazy.
D Hectrix, does paid traffic mean monetization? I'm a bit confused at that, what it means. Paid traffic is when you use AdWords and you spend money to promote your video. It is not the same as monetization. But I will tell you, I don't know if this hit your channel, but I got hit with the monetization thing. I didn't get demonetized, but all my videos got flagged for not being advertiser friendly. And I just said, fuck it. I just like, I am not going to play with this, and I'll just use paid traffic. But, you know, it is now, I could say virtually anything, and the video still, now they're getting monetized and they don't get flagged. It's a really wild thing. Stefan, despite the expression, everyone judges a book by its cover, everyone judges the video by its thumbnail. Your thumbnails are 35% or 40% of your views, maybe 50.
Yeah, I would take it even higher. Because yeah, I would take it even higher, and I would recommend that everybody don't spend as much time as you can on your thumbnail. That sounds ridiculous, but make sure that the thumbnails that you're using are effective. One way that you can test that, and I'm not doing this to actually plug them, I'm doing this because it's legitimate. TubeBuddy does actually have an A/B testing feature, because I don't have any affiliate links associated with this, and I don't get any money off the back end of TubeBuddy by saying this. But they have an A/B testing feature to where you can say, okay, this is the original thumbnail that I'm putting up, and I'm going to put up another thumbnail that so that I can have a test, and I can run a test and see which one people respond to the best and how they actually respond to it. And they give you all of that data inside. If you're making thumbnails, you might think they look amazing, and they might look like they might be a work of art, but are people responding to them? That's what matters. And what's funny is when you run tests, right? Because like I said, I've worked with tons of channels, and when you run tests on this stuff, you think like, oh, these thumbnails, these are just going to be awesome. People are definitely responding to these. But then you run a test on something that's either not as good, to where like when you look at it, it's just not as pleasing. Or you run tests to where it's definitely something better, but the response that you get off of it, in some cases, like a worse thumbnail in terms of it looking more amateur, will do better than a pro looking thumbnail. And then of course, you know, the other version is true depending on the channel as well. But it's really important that you actually test this stuff, because Glendon, like, you know, like in your case, you know how this works. You're running paid traffic on your channel. So like in that case, like you have to say, okay, well, I'm spending X amount of dollars on these ads. So because of that, I have to keep track. I have to test the conversions on my page. I have to test when somebody comes from a video, how many of those people are actually going and opting into my email list, or going and joining a course and things like that. And you have to test all this stuff. You're not guessing. You're not saying, oh, okay, well, I just hope that people are going to hope that people are just going to click on the links, right? Like you're testing this stuff and you're saying, okay, well, if I change this little thing, then it's going to give me a 5 or 10% increase in conversions on my webpage, right? Like the thumbnails are the same exact way. You have to test this stuff so that you have that real data to work with, because just guessing, you know, in most cases, you know, it's not going to get you there, especially if you don't know what you're doing. Like when it comes to people, like a really good example, because there's a Canadian in the house that hopped in here earlier. Another really good example is Peter Mckinnon. You know, he came into YouTube, and because he's so in tune from his past life experience, he's so in tune with imagery and how to really make awesome imagery and how to make awesome videos, that his thumbnails tell so much of a story that like you can't help but click on a Peter Mckinnon thumbnail, right? Because he's so good at expressing what it is that the video is about and making a thumbnail that makes you want to click on it. But for most people, we don't have that ability. We're not that tuned into that specific side of things. So because of that, it's really important that you find a way to test your thumbnails, be it through TubeBuddy, be it through running ads on it or whatever, but you find a way to test your thumbnails.
I'm going to tell you a good place to test your thumbnails, and it's Instagram. I'm trying to grow my Instagram account because I really wasn't putting effort into it, and I started getting artistic. And then all of a sudden, my Instagram account started to grow. Then I started to use those images from Instagram, and there was this one image, black background, gold mask. That video got like 600, and this is on the new channel with 600 subscribers. That video is already 1,000 views. So I already know that those views are coming from outside of my subscriber base. So if you really get good, and this is a point I want to hammer home, if you get good at and it'll still go far. Your content can be amazing, but if you suck at marketing and presenting and doing your thumbnails and doing your images, no one's ever going to see or hear you.
Right. And that's a hard pill to swallow. It's a really hard pill to swallow because, you know, like people look at this stuff and, you know, Glendon, you're on the grind, you know, like I see what you're doing too. And it's like, people will look at what we're doing from the outside and they'll be like, oh, and they'll look at what's going on from the outside and they'll be like, oh, you know, I just have to put up some videos to YouTube and this, that, and the other thing. But you know, one thing that people don't see is they don't see all the different tests that you're running, all the different things that you say in your videos. Hey, are people going to respond to this? Are people going to respond to this? Or, you know, they don't see all the different outreach that you're doing, trying to, you know, expand your network. And, you know, like they don't see all of the different stuff that you have going on in the background. And they think, well, hey, he's doing it. So if I just upload a video on YouTube, then hey, it's gonna do well. And it just doesn't work that way. There's a learning curve that comes with all of it. And I mean, of course, there's anomalies without question. But there's definitely a learning curve that comes with all of this stuff. And it's really important that you try to learn everything that you can about marketing, about presenting yourself, there's a channel called Charisma on Command. Like if you're thinking to yourself like, hey, if you're thinking to yourself like, hey, I don't know how to present myself on camera. I don't know how to present and make people respond to me. Just absorb everything that they say on that channel, and that'll give you some insight into what to do. But YouTube, like we all have this endless database of knowledge at our fingertips, and all you have to do is spend that time. You know, like let's say, for example, you're somebody that says, hey, I'm going to come in hard. I'm going to upload 5 days a week because I know that the algorithm likes daily uploads. Well, that's not the case. If people aren't responding to your content, then the algorithm doesn't care if you're uploading every day. There's gamers that have 1,000 videos on their channel, but they have 100 subscribers, right? The algorithm doesn't care that you're uploading daily content. What they care about is if your audience is responding to your content or not. If you are uploading five videos a day, you might be better suited to upload 2 videos a day and spend those other 3 days figuring out what actually works, figuring out how to make better thumbnails, watching tutorials on Photoshop, figuring out how to make your videos better, figuring out how to make your thumbnails better, figuring out how SEO works, figuring out how YouTube works, going through the Creator Academy at the very base level. YouTube has a free training program that is an instruction manual on how to use YouTube. And most creators don't go through the YouTube Creator Academy. Because it takes effort. It takes time. Hey, great. That means I got to sit here and I got to read through this stuff and I actually have to learn. But at the end of the day, Glendon, as you know, the more you learn, the more you arm yourself with, which means that you also give yourself all these additional opportunities and all these different skill sets that will help you grow further on YouTube. And by learning all of this stuff, it's also more skill sets that you're going to be able to take with you into other projects and other things that you do. It's crazy.
It's crazy. Joshua Hill, can you get away with uploading longer videos, 15 to 20 minutes once a week, rather than aiming for 2 to 3 uploads a week. I see Roberto Blake recommending 2 to 3 options. I'm going to say a piece, and I'm going to let Nick say a piece. Do what feels good. There's a girl, because I audit a lot of channels, because I'm always auditing channels, and she doesn't know about it. She puts up 2 videos a week, and she's been doing this since January 17th, January of last year, 2017. 2 videos a week. She knows keyword research and other stuff, and her AdSense on 2 videos a week is $3,000.
Nice.
But see, this is her story. She used to run Craigslist ads. So I've noticed that people who have a good SEO background do really well with YouTube, because her videos, they're nothing special, but she knows how to tag them. She knows how to title them, and she's actually very attractive, so her thumbnails pop. She's making $3,000 a month off 2 videos. Once again, going to recommendations, because we went to Vid Summit and there's a lot of things. I think that what you should do is experiment, because I had this conversation with a few people. They disagree, but I think each channel has its own algorithm and something else. New channels are on new servers, and they come up totally differently when you set up your channel than they did when I set up this channel. So you just got to test everything.
Yeah,
everything.
Testing. What's the saying? Amateurs guess, professionals test. If you want to be a pro, you want to be you want to be a full-time YouTuber, test, learn how it works, learn how to do all this stuff, run as much testing as you possibly can. Pay attention. Just pay attention. Pay attention, test as much as humanly possible, and your results will get better. Now, in terms of if you should do a 15-minute video or if you should do multiple 2 to 3 minute videos, let's say 3 5-minute videos, I also recommend that you do the 2 to 3 option. And the reason for that is because chances are pretty high that if you're just starting out, you're not going to be able to keep people watching through a 15-minute video. If you have, and you're also lessening the amount of testing that you're going to be able to do. So like, let's say, for example, if you're uploading 2 to 3 videos a week, that's 2 to 3 videos a week that you're going to be able to run tests on versus 1 video a week that you're going to be able to run tests on. So basically you're slowing yourself down by a factor of 3, right? If you can upload the more content so that you can test it and you can figure out, hey, what am I doing that people are responding to? What am I doing that people are not responding to? What am I doing in my thumbnails? Which ones are doing better? Why? When you're uploading more, it gives you the ability to do that. And if you're doing a very long video, which is good if people will stay on that video, but it's also giving you less time to actually learn how all of this stuff works.
Now, this is something funny. They're having a conversation about ads, and I'm going to tell y'all something. Another thing I hate is when people run ads through 1 video every 5 or 10 minutes. As soon as you get to a point they're interested in, here comes a commercial. I hate that. The Wild Jones Report, Yolanda, I hate that. That's why I use ad blocker. Anthony Bass, I hate that. Honey Bunny, I can deal with 1 ad, but when I see a video with 3 or more of those ad markers, I won't watch. Now, here's the thing, and this is, I know you guys don't like ads, but I am a firm believer that YouTube pushes videos with ads. So, but if you're entertaining, if your content is so hot, because there's one guy, he has no ads on his channel and he grew like crazy, but it's
Casey Neistat got 100 million views on his YouTube channel before he turned his ads on. 100 million views before he turned ads on. But the true story here, like the real story I'm trying to get at, is he turned ads on, right? He turned ads on, and he turned ads on because, one thing that people don't tune into, and it's cool, like I get it, we all have our preferences, right? But one thing that people don't tune into is that a lot of the people that you're watching that are running these multiple ad videos, even though we all hate ads, that is, like those are probably people that are depending on AdSense as their main source of income. Mm-hmm. And because of that, they're going to sacrifice you so that they can get 10,000, 20,000, 1 million other people that are going to watch those ads. So in terms of us not liking ads and us clicking off and things like that, that's fine, because they know, well, hey, if I put this ad in here, that means that this is most likely going to equate to X amount of dollars, which is fine. Some people are not going to like it, but for the majority of the people that are watching, or for at least X amount of people that are watching, I can factor this into the amount of money that I'm probably going to make on ads. And that's one thing that you have to consider. And of course, we can like it or not like it. I don't like ads either. I don't like ads being inserted in the videos, but I understand why they do it. And I don't put fault on the creator for doing it, because I know that a lot of people are actually using that AdSense money either as their income, or to make a car payment, or to, help send the kid to school, or just to put money in the bank and say, hey, hey, look, I've got money, like whatever it happens to be. I understand why they're doing it.
Yuri Bruce, 100 million. Well, this is the thing that everyone that misses on Casey. Casey was a filmmaker, long before he became on YouTube, so he knew how to tell stories. Casey sold his show to HBO for $2 million. He and his brother.
Right.
So, when you look at Casey, you got to look at it through the full spectrum of who Casey is. He had storytelling down to a science. I mean, that studio he has. He's in New York. You know how expensive the rent is on something like that is?
And so yeah. And he's starting a new show tomorrow. Yeah.
Let's see. So another thing, like if you're going to start a YouTube channel, because we're going to get ready to get out of here, you should not run ads, and you shouldn't have an intro.
Right.
But another thing that is heavy on your success of your YouTube channel is your topic. Unless you're extremely gorgeous or handsome, those folks can sit up and talk about them eating lettuce and people will watch. But if you
That's why we're winning. That's why we're winning, Glendon, because we're handsome. That's why we're winning, my man. Because
you're handsome. I was like, if you look like me, you got to work.
People are watching our videos like, wow, look at these handsome guys, right? Just kidding.
But I want to say thanks to Nick for sharing this and giving us some of his time, and hopefully we can get him back on. So be sure to go below the video, subscribe to his channel. He has a lot of content that will help you get your YouTube channel rolling. And you got any last minute tips, Nick?
I do. First, I want to say to you, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it. Thanks for this time that we've spent together here today. I appreciate it. And I also want to tell people, if you're considering starting a YouTube channel for the sake of anything, whatever that thing happens to be for you, but you haven't started yet, but you really want to start now, do it, because this stuff is only getting bigger. Like one thing that I want people to think about is there's countries that are experimenting with like base incomes, and they're talking about AI and robots taking over a lot of jobs for people and things like that. One place that you can secure a job is in entertainment and social media, because a robot can't get in front of a video. Not yet. They can't get in front of a video, and they can't entertain you for 10 minutes at a time. You can do that, right? You can get in front of a video. You can entertain people for 10 minutes at a time. You can share your knowledge with people for 10 minutes at a time. You can connect with people one-on-one through your video content for 10 minutes at a time. And if you're considering it, at least try it. And if you're going to try it, give yourself about at least a year, because it's a long game. Like the advice that was given to me before, I'm going to give to you right now. If you start uploading content, make sure that you pick an upload schedule that you can do for a long period of time, because YouTube is a long game. Sometimes channels will take off out of the gate because people are responding to their content. Other times it takes tons of work, tons of effort, 500 videos before a channel really starts getting a really big lift and people really start taking notice. So my main pieces of advice: start now, upload, test, modify, test some more, modify, and try to make as many friends in the space as you possibly can. Just because, that part of it alone can be super valuable and super helpful, because a lot of us, like when you first start on YouTube, a lot of us are in it alone. Like we're sitting at home, we're making videos out of our living rooms, out of our offices at home and all that stuff. And it's a lonely journey. So making friends with other people that are in the space to where you can hop on Facebook and you can talk to them about, hey, this is what's going on. I'm doing this. I'm having problems with my camera. I'm having, I'm thinking of experimenting with this type of thing on my channel. What do you think about that? And having other people that you can bounce those ideas off of is extremely powerful. And it's really good for the long-term sustainability of your mental health when you are when you're running a YouTube channel.
Awesome. We're going to close on that. Thanks everybody for coming out on this Friday morning, and I'll see you in the next Hustlers Profile. We are out.